Barış Arduç stood alone on the quiet balcony overlooking the Bosphorus as the golden evening light reflected across the water. The city behind him buzzed with life, yet his thoughts were far away. Years of unforgettable projects, countless interviews, and endless public speculation had taught him how to keep his emotions carefully hidden. But tonight felt different. Tonight, he knew he could no longer ignore the truth living quietly inside his heart. His phone vibrated. A message appeared from Elçin Sangu. "Congratulations on your latest project. I knew you'd make everyone proud." A gentle smile appeared on his face. No matter how busy life became, Elçin always found the perfect words to encourage him. Their friendship had survived demanding schedules, long filming days, and years of public attention. It had become one of the most meaningful parts of his life. Barış typed a short reply. "Thank you. That means more than you know." He stared at the screen for a few moments before putting the phone away. There was something he wanted to say, something he had wanted to say for a very long time, but every opportunity seemed to disappear before he found the courage. The following week, both actors received invitations to attend a prestigious charity gala in Istanbul. It was an event celebrating art, education, and young creative talent. When Barış arrived, cameras flashed continuously as guests walked across the elegant red carpet. Reporters asked about upcoming films, future collaborations, and personal goals. He answered politely, keeping every response professional. A few minutes later, another wave of excitement swept through the crowd. Elçin had arrived. She wore a graceful emerald green evening dress that perfectly matched the elegant atmosphere. She greeted everyone with her warm smile before noticing Barış waiting near the entrance. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, the noisy crowd seemed to disappear. "Barış," she said warmly. "Elçin. It's been too long." They shared a friendly hug before entering the grand ballroom together. Inside, conversations flowed easily. Artists, musicians, directors, and actors filled the beautifully decorated hall. Crystal chandeliers illuminated every corner while soft classical music played in the background. Despite speaking with many guests, Barış found himself naturally returning to Elçin whenever their conversations drifted apart. They laughed about funny memories from long filming days. They remembered forgotten behind-the-scenes moments. They spoke about family, travel, and future dreams. Hours passed almost unnoticed. Later that evening, the organizers invited several guests onto the stage to speak about supporting young artists. Barış listened carefully as Elçin delivered a heartfelt speech about kindness, creativity, and believing in people before they believe in themselves. Her words inspired the audience. When she finished, the room filled with applause. Barış applauded longer than anyone. He wasn't just proud of her success. He admired the person she had become. As dinner ended, guests moved toward the outdoor terrace overlooking the city lights. The cool evening breeze created a peaceful atmosphere. Barış and Elçin stood quietly beside the railing. "It feels nice escaping the cameras for a few minutes," Elçin said. Barış nodded. "Sometimes silence is the best conversation." She smiled. "I've missed moments like this." "So have I." For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt familiar. Comfortable. Honest. Meanwhile, across the terrace, several photographers continued taking pictures of the event. Within minutes, social media began filling with photographs showing Barış and Elçin laughing together. Fans immediately began sharing their excitement. Many remembered their unforgettable on-screen chemistry. Others simply celebrated seeing two respected actors enjoying each other's company again. Neither of them paid attention. Tonight wasn't about headlines. It was about friendship. Or perhaps something quietly becoming more than friendship. As the evening drew to a close, Elçin prepared to leave. Thank you, she said. For what? For making tonight feel peaceful. Barış smiled softly. I should be thanking you. She looked at him curiously. You always remind me what truly matters. Before she could respond, her driver arrived. She waved goodbye and stepped into the waiting car. Barış watched as the vehicle disappeared into the glowing city streets. He took a deep breath. His heart was telling him something his mind had tried to ignore for years. He cared for Elçin far more deeply than he had ever admitted, even to himself. For the first time, he stopped wondering whether he should tell her. Instead, he began wondering when. As the lights of Istanbul shimmered across the water, Barış quietly made a promise. The next time the right moment arrived, he would finally speak the words he had kept hidden for so long. Part 2. The morning after the charity gala, Barış woke earlier than usual. Istanbul was only beginning to come alive, but his mind had already returned to the conversation he had shared with Elçin the previous evening. Her words remained with him. For making tonight feel peaceful. He had heard thousands of compliments throughout his career, but somehow those few simple words felt different. Standing beside the window with a cup of coffee, Barış realized that his promise from the night before wasn't going to disappear with the morning light. He wanted to tell Elçin how important she had become to him. The problem was finding the courage to do it. His phone rested on the table. Several times, he picked it up and considered sending her a message. Every time, he stopped. A confession like this deserved more than a few words on a screen. He wanted to tell her face to face. Across the city, Elçin was having a similarly quiet morning. She sat near her window, drinking tea while looking through photographs from the charity event. There were pictures of speeches, celebrities, musicians, and smiling guests. Then she found one photograph that made her pause. It showed her standing beside Barış on the terrace. Neither of them appeared aware that the photograph was being taken. They were simply laughing. Elçin smiled. There was something wonderfully natural about the picture. For years, people had discussed their connection because of the memorable characters they had portrayed together. Fans celebrated their chemistry, interviews often returned to their friendship, and photographs of them could quickly inspire conversations. But Elçin knew there was another side that cameras couldn't capture. Trust. Barış had always treated her with kindness and respect. When work became stressful, he knew how to make her laugh. When success arrived, he celebrated without competition. When difficulties appeared, he listened without judgment. Those qualities meant more to her than any headline ever could. Several days passed. Then Elçin received a message. Are you free Saturday afternoon? There's somewhere I'd like to take you. She stared at it with curiosity. That sounds mysterious. His response arrived immediately. Maybe a little. She laughed. All right. Saturday. Barış placed his phone down and smiled. There was no turning back now. Saturday arrived with clear skies. Instead of choosing an expensive restaurant or crowded celebrity destination, Barış selected somewhere much simpler. A peaceful garden overlooking the Bosphorus. The location held no red carpets. No flashing cameras. No reporters. Just trees, flowers, walking paths, and a beautiful view of Istanbul. When Elçin arrived, Barış was already waiting. You brought me all the way here, she asked playfully. Are you disappointed? She looked around. Actually, it's perfect. They began walking. Their conversation started casually. They talked about upcoming projects and places they hoped to visit. Eventually, their discussion became more personal. Do you ever think about how quickly everything changed? Elçin asked. What do you mean? Our careers. Our lives. Everything. Barış nodded. Sometimes. It feels like yesterday when we were working those endless days together. And complaining about being tired. Elsin laughed. You complained more. Absolutely not. You definitely did. They continued laughing as they walked. But eventually, Barış became quiet. Elsin noticed immediately. Something wrong? No. You're terrible at pretending. He smiled. You've known me too long. Exactly. They reached a small viewpoint overlooking the water. Barış stopped. This was the moment. Elsin, there's something I've wanted to tell you. Her expression changed. The playful smile disappeared, replaced by curiosity. Okay. Barış looked toward the water for a second before meeting her eyes again. I've spent years believing that certain feelings are easier when they're left unspoken. Elsin remained silent. But lately I've started realizing the opposite. He took a slow breath. There are people who enter your life and become part of your memories. And then there are people who somehow become part of who you are. Elsin's eyes softened. Barış continued. You've been there during some of the most important chapters of my life. You've seen me exhausted, frustrated, excited, nervous, and probably ridiculous. Definitely ridiculous, she whispered with a smile. Barış laughed. Thank you. The nervousness disappeared for a moment. Then his expression became serious again. But through everything, you've remained someone I could trust. He paused. And somewhere along the way, that trust became something deeper for me. Elsin didn't move. Barış could hear his heartbeat. He had imagined this conversation countless times. None of those imagined versions felt as powerful as the real moment. I care about you, Elsin. She looked directly into his eyes. More than I've ever properly told you. The world around them seemed completely still. Elsin slowly looked toward the water. For a few moments, she said nothing. Barış wondered whether he had made a mistake. Perhaps he had misunderstood everything. Perhaps some feelings truly were better left unspoken. Then Elsin turned toward him again. Why did you wait so long? Barış wasn't expecting the question. I was afraid. Of me? Of losing what we already had. Her expression softened. You thought honesty would destroy our friendship? I didn't know. Elsin stepped closer. Barış, whatever happens after today, you aren't going to lose my friendship. Relief washed across his face. But... She paused. There is something you need to understand too. Barış waited. Elsin smiled gently. You weren't the only person afraid to say something. He stared at her. What are you saying? I'm saying I've wondered about us too. Barış couldn't hide his surprise. For how long? Long enough. They both laughed quietly. Years of uncertainty suddenly seemed strangely unnecessary. They sat together on a nearby bench. For the next hour, they spoke with a level of honesty neither had allowed themselves before. They didn't make dramatic promises. They didn't try to predict the future. Instead, they acknowledged something much simpler. Their connection mattered. Whatever came next deserved patience, respect, and honesty. Barış finally understood that confessing his feelings wasn't about creating the perfect romantic moment. It was about telling the truth. And Elsin understood that sometimes the strongest relationships begin not with certainty but with two people brave enough to admit that something meaningful exists between them. As sunset approached, they walked back toward the entrance. Before leaving, Elsin stopped. So what happens now? Barış smiled. I don't know. She raised an eyebrow. That was your big plan? I only planned the confession. Elsin laughed. You should have planned further ahead. Probably. She started walking again. Then she turned around. Coffee tomorrow? Barış smiled. Absolutely. Neither realized that someone standing far across the garden had recognized them. A photograph had already been taken. And within 24 hours, one innocent picture would create a question across social media that neither Barış nor Elçin was prepared to answer. Their private conversation was about to become very public.